Yeah, I definitely remember this one from the photo album. Oh. A bit of bleeding there. They often do that this time of year, spring. All right, we'll get her straight back, I think. Put her in the water. Couple of pictures for the camera. Get some water on her. That's it. We're going to get her back. It's warm all day. Well, I left you this morning having finally caught one. A nice 27-pound mirror. That was up the far end of the lake. And basically I've moved after that. The swim slowed right up, it went really quiet. And remembering what happened the previous couple of evenings, where all the fish tended to be up the other end of the lake, I've moved. So I've got up this end, I've got everything ready again. If you remember, I'd raked off a couple of spots. So I've got 2 rods positioned, I've got those rods ready, and I've also got a rod across on the far margin. And that one's really nice little spot. I had a walk around there earlier on this morning, just after I'd caught that fish, and I saw 2 fish. I mean, I was stood right close to a tree and I saw 2 fish come right into the bank, and they were high in the water, but as they came close to the bank, they got lower and lower, and probably 3 foot from the bank started fizzing. So it's obviously a spot that they liked, and all I've done is I've cast a lead weight across onto the far side, walked round, tied my hook link on, and then with the use of a little bit of PVA, a PVA loop, and another rod, my marker rod, I've tied the line onto this PVA loop, hooked my rig on it, my reel rig, and then just lowered it straight onto the spot. And you wait for the PVA to melt, only takes a minute or so, ping, and then the rig's perfectly positioned. And all that was left to do then was throw a little bit of bait around it, come back round to this side, and then tighten the line up to it. So I know that that bait is positioned absolutely bang on, and I'm really hopeful of a chance of that on that rod later on. And of course there's these rake spots which the fish have just been trashing me every evening, so I'm sure they'll be back here as well. And this time I've altered things slightly. I was using 10 millers. Now 10 millers are really good to get fish feeding, but the problem with 10 millers is when they're small and you've got a fair bit in, the fish are feeding tight, you know, they're not having to move very far between 3 offerings. Now if you imagine that's the length of the hook link, and each bait is probably only that far apart when I've got a few handfuls of 10 millers down there, the fish find it very easy to pick up the hook bait and blow it out. You know, to hook them, they really must hit the lead. Now, I'm not a fan of ultra short hook links. A lot of people use them really short in this sort of situation. With big fish, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a 50-pounder. I do like a fair-sized hook link, you know, so I'll occasionally go slightly shorter, but I'm going to start off with that. And instead of 10 millers, I've gone for 15 millers as well. And I'm not going to put as much bait in. I'll throw sort of 10 free offerings in maybe, but I'll throw them a little bit apart from each other, a foot or so apart from each other. And hopefully that'll make the difference. I'm pretty sure they'll be back anyway. been a little bit sneaky here. What I've done, rather than casting across onto the far side, which can often take loads and loads of casts, I'm going to lower my bait in from this bank. So the first thing I've done is just to cast my lead weight across onto this bank. And you'll see, there's the line going right across to my rod on the other side. My lead weight with no hook link on. Now, in here, that's the one. I've got my hook link ready to go. Get rid of that bit of grass. And I've got a loop on the end to make attaching it to the rig simple and quick. I just pass that through the ring swivel, open up the loop a little bit. There we go, through the hole. So that's the rig on, ready to go. Right, with that ready, we'll lay that down, poke the lead in the floor to save it flying out into the lake. We don't want to be losing that. And with this is my spare rod. It's basically my marker rod. I just snipped the marker off the end. So I've just got the end of the braided line. And I've tied up 3 little PVA loops. You only need one, but occasionally you have a nightmare when you're dropping rigs in, and especially in this damp weather. So I've tied up 3 spare ones. I'm just going to tie one of these loops on. You'd normally do this before walking around to drop it in, but it's been so damp that, if the truth be known, this is about the 5th time we tried to do it, and it keeps melting. So, right, that's ready to go. I've got the PVA loop there on the end of the line, and the next step, I'm going to hook it on to the rig like so. And now I can lower that in with this rod, and I can actually donk the lead down, feel what the bottom's like, and get it bang on. But there's one little thing I'm going to do. I noticed that the bank's really clay lined. I talked about this earlier on. So get a piece of the clay and mould it round the lead, like so. And this really helps colour up the water. I'm sure they're attracted to it, they love it. The next step is just to lower it in with this rod. Now I've got a little bit of slack in the line there, so rather than just drop it in a heap, I will obviously go around and tighten up the line afterwards, but I'm going to lay it to one side and then in one movement put the rig where I want it so it's all nice and straight. Bonk on the floor, and now you have to wait for the PVA to melt, and it depends how thick the PVA is as to how long it takes to melt. What I've done, I've actually chopped through it a little bit with the scissors, which hopefully reduce the time it takes. But I tell you what, sometimes I've been in this position holding the rod waiting for the PVA to melt, and there's fish swimming around and I'm cringing thinking, oh God, they're going to see me. But at least you get the rig in place. There we go, PVA's melted, rig's perfectly in place, and the hook link's even straight where I've held it at tension. We'll just hook that line in that clip, ready for the next time I want to drop a bait. Well, not a lot to report this evening, I'm afraid.